Okay, let's discuss this in more detail now with Chris Doyle, who's the director of the Council for Arab-British Understanding, and he joins me live on the line from London. Welcome to you, Chris. I just want to first talk about the reason why Israel has passed these laws, because one of the explanations given by a member of the Knesset was that they claimed that the UNRWA members were educating kids to hate Israel and they were spreading anti-Semitism. I mean, is there any evidence to back up such a claim?
This is part of a very long-term campaign that Israel has had, its leaders, its politicians, including the Knesset, to undermine UNRWA, and now certainly over the last 12 months to actually finish it off. It's doing so for a number of reasons. Firstly, its long-time hatred of UNRWA is owing to its mandate dealing with Palestinian refugees. Israel doesn't agree that there should be such a thing as Palestinian refugees. It believes that other countries should just take them in. And it is a reminder that throughout the entirety of Israel, its towns and cities, most of them are built on the remains of Palestinian Arab towns and cities. That painful birth of the state of Israel for Palestinians, which Palestinians call the Nakba, 70% of their population became refugees. But also, the other reason is that Israel is, I think, engaging in a process of genocide in Gaza. It wants to deny humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza. It has been relentlessly destroying Palestinian infrastructure, the means to survival in Gaza. It is, as the UN has now said, those remaining in northern Gaza are facing death, those Palestinians. So certainly for them, this is all terminal. So this is a long-running issue that Israeli politicians have with UNRWA, and they have concocted, because all the independent research shows otherwise, all this excuse about textbooks and curricula, just to say that there is no such thing as an UNRWA textbook. The textbooks are those of the Palestinian Authority, and it is incumbent upon UN agencies to use the textbook and the curricula of the state or authority that they are operating in. And that's why if you go to Syria and UNRWA schools in Syria, they adopt the Syrian curriculum, or in Jordan, the Jordanian curriculum. So this is all part of a long-term smear campaign that Israel has adopted against this agency.
What do you make of the relationship at the moment between the UN and Israel? Because the head of the UN absolutely denounces Israel's actions in Gaza. He condemns them almost every time he comes out and speaks publicly. Israel just seems to not care, and has even intimidated UN peacekeepers in recent times. And it just seems that the relationship couldn't get much worse, and yet Israel is a signatory to the UN Charter.
It's a UN member, a signatory to that charter and many other conventions, which it violates almost daily. And more than most states, Israel actually owes its very genesis, its existence, to the United Nations. Of course, the vote in 1947 to partition mandatory Palestine into a Jewish and Arab state. So to find now that Israel perhaps is more hostile to the United Nations than pretty much any other state on earth, in every facet, it has refused to allow UN Secretary General to come to Israel. It has denied visas to UN employees who are working for different agencies other than UNRWA. We had the Prime Minister of Israel calling the United Nations anti-Semitic, as do many of his supporters. So there is a hostility towards the United Nations. But also remember that there is a difference between the United Nations in terms of its bureaucracy, its agencies, and of course, the Security Council. In the Security Council, Israel relies upon the United States to shield it, but it also gets some support from Britain, from France, and occasionally others. So amongst individual member states, the picture is a little different, albeit the vast majority, the overwhelming majority of UN member states have been very, very critical of Israeli conduct and for a long time.
Chris, good to speak to you. Thanks for your time. My guest, Chris Doyle, Director of the Council for Arab-British Understanding.